I'm 79, retired, of course. I have a Roth, a traditional IRA, and I also have an account that's just, it's almost a zero balance, but it's just if I wanted to move money there, I could trade. It's all under TD Ameritrade. I have a thing called a required minimum distribution that I'm sure you're aware of, and every year I'm required to move this money out of my traditional IRA, and I'm trying not to pull all my dividends out, but I'm going to be having to do that. But I don't want to spend them, and I was wondering if because of my age I can't. Would it be wiser to move the money to the or to move? I have to pull out like $8,000 a year. Do I? Can I move that money to a Roth, or am I not allowed to do that at my age? I was just wondering. At 79.
You can do that. There are no age restrictions on, I'm sorry. You can convert to a Roth IRA, but it cannot be your RMD. So you still have to take out that amount of money. You can't convert the RMD, but you can convert. So I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but you can still convert. There's no age limit on it, but you do have to take your RMD. Now, what you could do if you want to stay invested and you don't want to, lose any of your dividends, is you can actually move shares of stock from your IRA into your non-qualified account. It's just called moving it in kind. And what happens is that you pay the tax on the reported value on the day that it moves. That way, you keep your securities intact. Now, if you're going to do that, what I would suggest to do is to choose the securities that have the highest potential for growth and move them out of the IRA. And the reason for that is because anytime you grow in your IRA, you're not only growing for yourself, but you're growing for the government, because you're growing the tax liability that is inside that IRA too. So the other difference too between moving it to, because you could do a conversion to a Roth, which the Roth is the most tax efficient or the most tax beneficial account for people to inherit, especially if they're a non-spouse, over an IRA, because it doesn't have that embedded tax liability. It's all after-tax dollars that grow tax-free. And then once a non-spouse inherits it, they get to continue that tax-free growth for another 10 years, but it's still a qualified account. Qualified account just means that it qualifies for special tax treatment because the government says so. So because the government created these entities and they govern the laws about these entities, how much you have to take out, when you have to take it out, how it's taxed, all of those things are controlled by laws that can be changed anytime the government gets enough support to do so. So, there's still a lot of regulation risk inside a Roth account.
All right, but
right.
But I could just take a certain amount out and put it into my regular account. It's just a regular TD Ameritrade account. I have the three all in, combined.
You can, and that would be my preference. If you don't have enough emergency money outside the IRA account, I would move the cash into the non-qualified account, because then you kind of lose some tax control if your emergency money is in your IRA, because then if you have to have an emergency and have to get it out, you don't really have, control. You may push yourself into another tax bracket that you weren't really planning to do. So I would do that first. And then if you still have more that you need to do, look at taking some of those higher growth securities and moving them to the non-qualified.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Boy, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And the other thing that I would mention too is if you're doing any charitable giving, do the charitable giving directly from the IRA account. That is the only way that you're going to get money out of that account at 0% taxes.
Oh, so just okay. And if I do draw it out for charity, that still counts as meeting my RMD requirement.
It does, but in order for it to come out tax-free, you have to follow the rules on how to do it. It has to be distributed directly to the nonprofit organization. You can't take a distribution and then write a check out of your checking account. It has to go direct.